Good morning, listeners, subscribers. So it was a difficult night, especially the second half. With the help of God, my tongue is getting better. It's already much better than before, and I help God immensely. Then 2 or 3 hours ago. I try not to eat carbs. Only, a little bit of olives and water. So first of all, so yeah, this will be another video in under the category of the Ziggurat of Ur. Even though it will be a background video, it will not be the video that we go back to the Vechoropoulos family, but it will be the next one. Because some background is required. First of all, some people ask, some people, the newcomers to this channel, they ask, what's the issue, what's your deal with sleep? Are you like an angel that do not require to sleep at all, or what's going on? So the answer is the following. Of course, I require sleep just like normal human beings and normal titans. But since 10 or maybe 15 years ago, my sleep was horribly disturbed because of tortures that are done by the state of Israel, and you can actually hear the cleaning machine that arrived under my window, and electrocution all night, and severe torture that I'm subjected to by the state of Israel since maybe 15 years ago, and I had many sleep disturbances. Actually, some of it got slightly better over the years after an endless saga of medications that I shouldn't have taken from the first place, and so it's somewhat better. But at the same time, from time to time, I about once every 2 months or 3 months, and it's almost always documented, I try not to sleep for three nights in a row, like 4 days, 3 nights. And this is actually the case right now. This is the 4th day. I never in my life, I don't think that I've never kept awake for 4 nights. And I do not plan to do it today. I will go to sleep. Later today, or mostly at the latest during this evening. But this is done for several reasons. Initially, it was kind of like a divination. I couldn't really explain. Actually, you don't really need divination. If you want to stick to rational explanation, because there is kind of an inner fear from sleep. For the teenagers from Nightmare of Elm Street. Because yes, I'm subjected to terror in my sleep. So of course I have an inner fear, but it's something more than that. And I've understood what it is very lately, very lately. Very recently. Before I say what it is, I should say that, yes, I understand that, lack of sleep, or, evasion of sleep, also is characterizes, it's a characteristic of, Venusian clones before they recycle themselves. And so, and it's something, it's kind of an ongoing, lie that Israel always tell about me, that I am like a Venusian clone that is going to be recycled. It was never the case, but they keep saying it. And the reason why they keep saying that is actually it's complicated, because it's not only that it's interest, but there is another issue which I only very recently understood, even though it is pertinent to my life, but maybe we should discuss it later, because I don't want to do too much exposition dump. I should just state the following, because this might be of help to, practical help to some of the viewers. The Israelis electrocute me in my sleep every night, wherever I live, it doesn't matter. And this kills a lot of my neurons. So if I do not sleep, yes, I suffer from physical, pain and mental problems like any other humans. That after 3 nights, he will have mental issues. Every human. So I like a human in this regard. So it's very difficult to do it, and I can't do it for more than 3 nights in a row, like now. But I have much more. My body contains much more neurons and much bigger ones, and this could be actually proven using a microscopic test. Maybe we'll do it later today, even though I don't feel the need to do it, because I've done it several times in the past, and it was actually documented in this channel. And this kind of flourishing of the new environment inside my body allows me to experiment with all sorts of stuff regarding my own nature. So some of you can ask, if you wouldn't live in a nasty state that electrocute you every night, so by now you could have become like a Superman full of neurons. So the short answer is that probably yes, and probably they don't want it. There is a long answer, but the short answer is actually very accurate. Yes, the short answer is yes. Yes. Just yes. Just yes. And regarding, I mean, the kind of theory that I'm like a clone, I mean, I'm dealing with it like for so many years, and by now I couldn't care less. I mean, if you're so stupid that you cannot identify between the cherub and the clone of a titan, I mean, then I mean, טיפש יישאר בטיפשותו. I mean, like, ויל יישאר בבלתו. Like, an idiot, I mean, will keep his idiocy, and I mean, what can I do about it? Of course, you need to listen to me if you want to understand what I say. I mean, this was one of the major sins of many intelligence communities so many years, that I mean, they thought that they can understand me without bothering to actually listen to me, like to get all the information, suppose all the information that they need on my regards from the Israelis that afford lied so much, like all the time. You need to listen if you want to know anything. And of course, I mean, if you get this message, you actually listen, so I mean, you've done the first step. But I speak for many years now, it's not new. And I was never shy, and even before my discovery that I'm not Homo sapiens, I mean, I really like to speak with people, and even in front of audiences, so you just need to listen. Now, I mentioned the clone, the evolution clones, and I want to speak about it like a little bit in this video. It will be a short video, but I think it's necessary, especially for people that I mean are not aware of this situation. At least I mean, it's something that I mean, it's mentioned many times in my videos, in all sorts of like I mean context, in different contexts. And I've also mentioned it in this series actually already, when I said that there was a divine intervention because the Israelis wanted to murder my grandfather, Yaakov, and to replace him with a Venetian clone. So what does it even mean? Maybe it's very easy for you to understand, but if not, I should speak about it very briefly. So yes, Venetian females can change form. And one of the ways that it's used in Israel is to create clones of people for all sorts of purposes. Sometimes very short term and sometimes very long term. It can be like from hours to decades. And one of the most like a peculiar habit that took me a lot of time to understand, and I still do not understand it completely, is the habit to murder people or to just lock them like like in a cell underground, or metaphorically in a cell underground, and that they will never see the light of day again, and to replace these people with clones, Venusian clones. So it should be said that this is not it's not entirely new phenomenon, even without the issue of the Venusian clones, because these things happen like even in the past of humanity. Famously to kings and like nobles, that they were just replaced, and in times that there were much less visual artifacts, there were not photos and very little access to paintings, so it was actually much easier than today to actually replace the king or like a monarch or a queen with is kind of like a clone, even if they didn't really look very much the same. But what amazes me is that it's kind of like the natural. It seems to be that this is the natural, course of action for the Shabak and the Mossad, and I don't understand why. And I also do not understand why other intelligence services they accept this fact. So you can say, intelligence services cannot dictate whatever the other ones is doing. But sometimes, there are like, maybe it's rare, but there are joint operations, specifically with regards to the Titans, like to the Venusians. And so, why do you, and most certainly in any kind of like an operation, there will be a component of a clone. So I ask, why is it like that? Why is it always like that? Like, presumably, you cannot murder me, or you cannot even you cannot even presumably even transport me abroad to another country without like a clone to take my place. And I don't understand why. Why is it important? Even if I was like a public figure that everybody knows. So so you can say the person has died. and why other people actually, actually they are, they cooperate with this, because the problem is that, this could be used to manipulate all the actors, like the agents and the actors that are involved, because it's very difficult to actually to know if it's a clone or not if you are not very familiar with the person and you can actually talk to him. And it's something that people of intelligence communities of this world don't like to do, like to actually speak. Or to listen. Certainly not to listen. So, this kind of a mechanism of replacing the person with a clone can be of like sinister benefit to the Israeli intelligence agencies in all sorts of ways. Like, they can create multiple clones, or they can, decide not to actually create a clone at all and to say that it's a clone. There are so many ways to manipulate reality. So why, the default is not that that if the person is dead, then to say that he's dead. And if the person is kidnapped, to say that he was kidnapped. Why it's so, for Israel, it's like the natural instinct. And I think that other people around the world shouldn't like accept it at all. But maybe, in the case of my grandfather, actually, it did make some sense, to do it. Even though they weren't successful, as I said, and this is something that I attribute to divine intervention. Because, yes, they wanted, to take revenge on him. They murdered his 3-year-old daughter in her sleep. It should be said that at the time, up until the Titan Revolution, like, what it was the subject of the bicycle saga during the 80s, like the previous saga, up until the 80s, it wasn't customary at all to actually punish Titans, like, in the same way that, humans are punished. Because they were considered property. Sometimes they were disciplined, like slaves, because they were slaves, but not really punished. So, presumably, if my grandfather, were murdered, when he was very young, after, like, supposedly the discovery of his high treason, they wouldn't want, like, Batya, the wife, to actually, die with him, to get the same verdict, because they wanted her for the tea, and she's old, so she has a lot of teeth. So in any case, they would have wanted her to stay in Earth, which is the natural course of action, because for some reason they never get back to Venus. I guess, they get used to, society with much more, supply of food and medicine, etc. And so they would wanted her to marry someone. So, if they create a clone, it saves, like, the whole operation of, like, faking the death and supplying it, or, explaining. You hear the washing machine, they don't like me to speak. Not at all. So maybe at this case that I already mentioned of my grandfather, yes, I understand why they wanted to replace him with a clone, but in many times, I just don't understand, why it's actually needed at all, and it's kind of like, a pitfall that, for so many, like, wrongdoing. It's worth mentioning, I've said it in the past, that complete change of the body to clone another person is not trivial action for Venusians. They require many robots, like, in their body, and so it's, traditionally, since long before the state of Israel was established, the clones, they were, always, like, took part in the ritual cannibalism that took place in Israel and still takes place in Israel. And I think that, because of this culture of clones, and that, no one really knows nothing, for certain, many times people just assume that other like, that people are just clones. Like, I'm certain that many people, like, throughout his life, like, my grandfather, my late grandfather, Jacob, I'm certain that many times that he met people, like, throughout his life that was certain that he's actually a clone and that the original was murdered after the discovery of the treason. But, there is no way to actually prove that you're not. You can take iris or cornea test, of course, but it's not something that you do to some just, random dude that, or woman that, speaks to you. So it adds another kind of a peculiarity. So it was important to me to mention all of this because it will be relevant in the next chapter. So I will stop here, and soon, very shortly, I will create. Will continue with the whereabouts of the Bechoropoulos.